by the way, I've just had the best day. I've just been to the dump, and because I use my mum and dad's car to go to the dump, I've then got to take it to the car wash. So it's like the two perfect bookends to doing the podcast.
Going to the dump.
Yeah, I love a dump trip.
You must have had a lot of stuff to get rid of.
I did actually, a whole shed full. Is this engaging chat waking you up, Jem?
Not really, no.
Confused.
What time is it? Ask this every week, but what time is it over there?
Yeah, I think we're going to chat about what time it is for me to do this podcast every week and the marathon every week.
The marathon's like in the dump now.
Okay, I'm
embarrassed if that comes up.
I like how you linked in the dump there.
This is the penultimate. I can't even say penultimate. This is the penultimate Sky Sports 3 Players in a Podcast of the season. 3 players, 3 topics. Hopefully a podcast out the other end of it. In the company of Never Gone for Long, Jen Beattie, still here, whatever the time. Never Wrong for Long, Izzy Christiansen. And Never Far From a Song. I hope we were recording you singing Rachel Yankey. Yeah, me neither. Coming up this week, Cup finals, final days, and final goodbyes. First up then, United Championes is what I imagine Manchester United fans were singing after they beat Spurs to lift their first major trophy. So let's talk Cup finals. Izzy, was it as expected?
It was tight for 44 minutes. It was tight. And then Elatoon just decided to stick one in the top bins. It was the most unbelievable strike. And I was doing the commentary of the game, and I was seeing these replays as we were speaking over the goal. And I was like, the commentary just didn't do it justice. Like, the ball curled outside the width of the goal and then back in to the top corner. It was unbelievable. And then that just set a precedent. But here's a little fact that I don't know if anyone knew this, but from that cup final at Wembley, in the centre circle, pre-kickoff, it was 32 degrees, which is kind of hot. It's like Jen Beattie regions of America heat, I'm guessing, which is a bit of a shock to the Brits, of course. And for the girls to have to deal with that on the day, it was just roasting at Wembley. And I think that played a bit of a factor in the game. I don't know if anyone else saw the game, but I think the first half was slow.
Probably.
That's why they had a little water break, didn't they? When it gets to a certain temperature.
Yep.
We didn't even have that in Florida, can I just say? We didn't have that.
No water break.
No water break, and it was
just
similar.
Get on with it, Jen.
Yeah, I know. Okay, Yanks. Gosh. God, I felt like I was 18 back at Arsenal for a second there.
She's only just woke up, Yanks. Give her a rest.
Yeah. No, but that would definitely play a factor. I feel like in England, if you're not used to it, because apparently it takes like a few months to actually acclimatise to that as well. And if a first half is pretty slow, then 100% that will have affected it. I was actually on the plane back from Orlando while the game was on, and I got internet in the air, and my mum was WhatsApping me throughout the whole game, like, because she loves it and was watching it, and she was just saying how great United were, to be honest. She described Elatoon's pretty similar, like the goal. She was just like, couldn't believe how good it was. But no, I think for United to get their first ever major trophy, to do it at Wembley, Elatoon's made for that stuff now, isn't she? She seems to kind of step up in those big moments.
The Wembley Wizard.
It's unbelievable. Like how she's kind of just seems to kind of thrive in those big games and those big pressure games, and that was awesome to see. It just looked like a team with a little bit more experience, I'd say, on the day, and how to handle big moments, big pressure. But yeah, to get their first trophy, that's pretty special.
Yeah, I'd be intrigued to know from Elatoon what her favourite goal at Wembley is so far, because she scored some pretty good goals. And
she only scores blinders there, doesn't she?
I know, but like, obviously off the back of her goal on Sunday, like her goal in the European Championships final has been on repeat since, on like news channels and stuff like that, and on Twitter. And I'm like, that was an unbelievable finish, the dink that she made over the goalkeeper. In the context of the game, I'm like, what was a better goal? Because it's
a dink.
I don't think that gets talked about enough, that first goal in the Euro final. I feel like it's forgotten, and that goal was just amazing. To be able to do that in that pressure, in that environment, and have, I don't know, just the calmness to do that finish.
Against Germany as well. Like,
yeah, it's class.
I think that one's number one for me.
Yeah,
100%.
For me too.
Yeah.
I think everything around it, that's got to be number one. But
yeah.
Yeah, she's decent. But I mean, to be fair, first half, like Tottenham was still in it.
Yeah.
It was. I thought it was really close. I thought it does. I think when you get to a final, I think Manchester United have learnt because they've been at previous finals. I think Tottenham will learn from this and will take loads from it. I mean, it's gutting, obviously, the result. Losing any final is gutting, but I'm not sure the scoreline really reflects the actual match in terms of Tottenham. Tottenham weren't that bad. They just there was mistakes and they got punished for it. And I think the experience that Manchester United have had for being there before, they withstood the pressure of the day better than Tottenham did.
The stats, like, take them or leave them, but suggest that it was 4-0, as in the difference between the sides, because Spurs didn't have a shot on target apart from Bethany England's header, which rattled the bar. It would have been interesting to see if that went in. That was at 3-0 to Man United at that point. If that went in, if Spurs had found an extra gear to try and come back. But the key in the game was Ella Toon's goal. I mean, we've spoken about it being a worldie, but the timing of it was about a minute before half time. And I think Robert Villaham, the Spurs coach, thought that, like, okay, 0-0 at half time, he'd be happy with that. And then he probably had a second half game plan off the back of, like, holding them tight until half time. So they just didn't really come out in the second half, Spurs. And the occasion, I don't really like to say it because Spurs beat Arsenal, sorry, Jen, at the Spurs Stadium this season. Like, massive stadium, massive game, North London derby. So I kind of thought, will the occasion get the better of them, or will that experience throughout the season have actually helped them prepare for this game against Man United at Wembley? And that's another thing, by the way, the crowds were unbelievable. The Spurs fans were insane, and the Man United fans were different level. It created, like, it genuinely felt like I sat in the commentary box and I was like, this feels normal. Like, the atmosphere, you could have shut your eyes and you would have been at a men's game, a men's final. It was unreal.
But I think, going back to occasion, I think, you talk about the rivalry, the North London derby, but playing in a cup final at Wembley, it's just a different, I don't know, it's a different feeling. I think that occasion has to play a part in it. Like, the nerves that you would have had, the whole build up, everybody talking about it, your family, being excited. I feel like that definitely has to play a part in how you as a player perform on the day.
Do you know what adds to that, Yanks? When you've got a new fit on.
You got a what?
It's all different fits for a cup final, isn't it?
She went there.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, your new fit.
I'm gonna vote Tottenham's fit was nicer.
Yeah, retweet.
Big fan.
They looked great. Yeah.
Spurs one was kind of like a beige, either waistcoat suit or like trouser suit jacket combination. I just thought, you know what, United were in black and they still did well with the heat on that 32-degree day, Izzy. But no, I thought they both looked smart but I preferred Tottenham. But it off the back of what you're saying, Alex, for me that does add to, like, the excitement of the day, the importance of it, because you're coming up smart to Wembley. Like, it adds to the occasion in the best possible way. But I'm gonna go there and talk about the fits because I thought Tottenham's was great. I thought they looked great.
You probably can't move this topic on until we've discussed Mark Skinner's polo neck or turtleneck.
Thank you.
Because
you have to.
I could see it there, Caroline. It was on your lips, wasn't it?
It was.
And he had a black jacket on. I mean, he looked great. And I know that's the look he was going for. He wanted to look good, and he certainly looked good.
All right, Izzy, calm down.
All right. This is my mate.
I'm only joking.
He explained that it's merino wool. And am I right in saying merino wool keeps you cool when it's warm and hot when it's cold? But nonetheless, having a polo neck on a day like that with the sun beaming into Wembley, he must have been struggling.
There's a reason why they shear sheep in summer. Anyway, moving on. There's 3 things in that well highlighted on the temperature in the middle of the pitch, and I'd like to see, like in cricket when they go out to the wicket with a set of car keys and do it. I'd like to see Izzy out at every major cup final just with the thermometer telling us what the temperature is. Number 2, Izzy. Number 2, you're calling your own commentary out by saying it didn't do justice when I thought it did. So
I don't mind. I'm very self-critical.
No, never. It was great. And number 3, did you see Ella Toon's tweet? Instagram, wherever she put it, was on social, from her dad, had texted that day saying, "Let's have it today, Ella. Look for that space, stay forward, shoot, and the goals will come." Anyone else ever had a message like that and then it's happened? No, nope. Good, let's move on. You are listening to Three Players and a Podcast. The one thing I didn't ask about that, and Izzy, you brought up Mark Skinner's roll neck. Is that a little bit of redemption for Mark Skinner, do you think, after this season?
I wouldn't say so. I think the way I look at it is Manchester United are going to have a more successful season than either Chelsea or Man City. So we'll find out on Saturday about 6 p.m.
Ooh. No, you're too good. Too good, because that's what we're going to talk about next. The final countdown, etc. Final day of the season then, this Saturday. Who wins it? You've set it up, Izzy. Jen, do you want to nod it in? God. Who wins it?
Do you know what the toughest thing about my answer would have been different? But I think I would go for Chelsea now. I think it's like all or nothing for them now. I think they know that it's their one last sort of opportunity, and like that Bristol score for me, the 8-0 against them, was kind of a marker of where they're at. I think none of them are used to finishing the season without lifting a trophy, and I think going into these last couple of games, obviously they have 2, they're just going to throw absolutely everything at it. I think Champions League would have hurt for them, being so close in that to get into the final. So many moments they've come so close, and now I feel like this run-in for them is all or nothing. So I think my money would be on Chelsea if I was gambler. But yeah, it's chopped and changed the more I think about it. But I think now in this moment, I'm going to go for Chelsea based on where they might be at mentally, if I was to guess.
Solid.
And the muscle memory of lifting trophies.
There you go.
Me lifting a trophy. Rach?
Do you know what? It's so hard. I'm with Jen that I just want to sit on the fence, but and don't want to say one. Jen's braver than me. I just think, do you know what? You got to credit Chelsea, because to come back for that Bristol game and get what was required, the 3 points, the goals, to now give them the advantage. No one saw that coming. I don't think no one saw that coming. So how can you write them off? But then, I kind of I'm looking at Manchester City thinking, you must have been absolutely kicking yourself, because that result where Arsenal turned it around, and Manchester City, you've got to be gutted. But then they've got one last game to show character, to show belief and show what they're all about, and they've got to get goals. And it's at Aston Villa, am I right? Mm-hmm. And it's Villa's last home game, manager's leaving. It's like there's so many little stories within it all. I just think that the build-up, everything is just so exciting. And then you look on the other side, Tottenham have just lost the cup. Can they, I don't know, pull back together? Because where's your head at when you're coming off of losing's one thing, but losing 4-0 is another thing, But then do you want that instant revenge, pull it back together? And are you really battling to, be the ones to stop your London rivals? And if it does go down to the last game and it's Manchester United who have just won the cup, surely they want it, in their mind, want to be going out on a high in front of their home fans, beating Chelsea to stop Chelsea from winning. There's so many things that play a part in these games that it just makes it exciting. And do you know what? I struggle. I can't call it, because Chelsea, I credit them. They've put themselves in that fantastic position that they've now got the advantage. But there's a part of me that could still see City come out, show what they're about. And Chelsea have got the harder games, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No disrespect to any teams. So I'm sitting right on the fence. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I agree with both. I think the interesting thing is, okay, if we're being really pragmatic about it, I expect Chelsea to beat Spurs tomorrow night. So that's Wednesday night, which sets it right up for the last day. So essentially, if Chelsea do win against Tottenham, whatever score they win by and whatever their goal difference accumulates to, Manchester City have to surpass that by beating Villa, and surpass it more than if Chelsea were to beat Manchester United. So there is a lot of complexities involved in it. And I can't help but think with Manchester City, their game where they needed to turn it on, like Yanks was just saying, they're going to have to turn it on against Villa. There's absolutely no negotiable about that. They've got to score a lot of goals against Villa, which is going to be difficult. They should have done that against Bristol when they won 4-0. In the first half, it was 0-0. So they came out to the second half. You know, they were in full control, of course, like they normally are in every WSL match, but they hadn't scored. So they had quite an uphill task. Whereas what Chelsea did, obviously, against Bristol was they scored 8 to take their goal difference level and then plus Manchester City. So I think the irony is it's like the old sort of saying, do the hard work first and it becomes easier at the end. And I think what Manchester City now have is a situation where they have to score as many goals as they can, but should they have done that earlier in the season in previous games?
Without
Probably.
their main scorer. Without their
exactly.
main goal scorer.
Exactly. Without Bunny Shaw. And we saw, you know, was that absence going to be a massive loss to them? Of course it was, but you didn't realise it would be that much that they lost to Arsenal and they didn't create enough against Arsenal to put the game to bed. And I don't know. We got to wait and see what happens on Wednesday night and then see how it goes. But Yank spot on with the Manchester United shout. They're playing at Old Trafford. I'll tell you what, Manchester United, you know, the mentality of that football club, now FA Cup winners, and just the history of the football club is you don't roll over at Old Trafford, you don't roll over anywhere. And they'll be on a high. They'll want to finish good in front of their own fans who will all be out in force to watch them, you know, as FA Cup champions, as well as, you know, a strong team to watch. So got a spicy end to the season.
It's crazy how, like, now the narrative is exactly what you're saying, though, is like, if you lose a season on goal difference, of course you're going to look at the games where you won 4-0 and, you know, could it have been 5-6-7 if Chelsea can do it? But, like, that is the narrative of this league now. We've been saying for years how competitive it is, and you are going to look back on, you know, we used to just look at the head-to-heads at the top of the table, right? Now everyone's taking points off each other and have done for a couple of seasons now. But this season by far has been the most amount of upsets. I think teams from top to bottom of the league coming into the final of the season still talking about how Spurs is a hard game, United is a hard game, playing at Villa Park, that's a tough game regardless of the size of the field and, you know, how much Man City move the ball on a field like that. But the narrative of this league now is you have to look at every game as how to, like, points could be dropped.
Yeah.
And you can't, because coming into the final week or the final month, you don't want to be looking back at Spurs at Spurs Stadium thinking, oh, that's when we lost it, or opening game of the season against Liverpool at Emirates, we dropped points there. You can't be doing that as teams now. It's like every game is massive, and this end of this season is probably the first time where you can look back on all of those top teams and look at where they dropped points and could have done better. And it's like, or not could have done better, but that's what happened. That's the narrative of the league now. They were upsets, and they will continue to happen. And it's how do teams manage that throughout a season now? Because you can't go into games now expecting to just get 3 points up until you play the top 4.
The other interesting thing on it, and it'd be interesting to hear you guys' views on this, is like, so Chelsea have now had 10 days rest before they play tomorrow night against Tottenham. So they've had 10 days off, like obviously not off, but without a WSL or competitive fixture. So would you rather have just kept rolling, or would you rather have had this gap of time to prepare? Because this will be a little bit of a shock to Chelsea going after a 10-day gap to go and play Spurs tomorrow night. And granted, I know for a fact they would have done some sort of gameplay and training in 11v11 or whatever, and they got the squad to facilitate that. But you can't get close to replicating the WSL fixture, you know, the magnitude of it and the circumstances. So would you guys have rather just played and kept rolling, or taken a 10-day rest to get ready for these last 2 games?
Probably kept rolling, to be quite honest, because if we look at that Chelsea situation there, for the win, the 8-0 win, you know, it's got you back in the top spot, the advantage. It's now with you. I think from there, you want to just keep pushing on. You want to just keep playing because everybody's on a high. You've got that momentum. But I suppose maybe players within that squad, if you're an injured player, you're happy for a 10 days off because you might be able to get back. You might be able to, do you know what I mean? Maybe I don't know what their squad's looking like. You might have time to fix other things. And also the fact that you are playing, not that you would look at this lightly, but you're playing a team that's just played a few days before and they lost. So mentally, where are they at? You would still feel more superior. Not that you would go into the game feeling like there was some sort of take it for granted or anything like that. But you would try to use that as your advantage, your 1%, to try and push you on, because Chelsea have to win, and if they can win by goals, then that will put them in a better position. So that they know that. So I think you could probably look at it as being good both ways. But I think as a player, especially if I'd played in that game, I think I would have probably liked to just kept on rolling.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the other way. I think when in my experience of those periods of like business end of the season, some players are just hanging on, whether it's like mentally or physically, to be able to give, like, say if you have a 10-day break, to be able to give 2-3 days completely off to go and switch off, even from a physical standpoint. If anyone's got niggles, if anyone's got any doubts going into like a game immediately, if they come back fresh, or like niggles in hamstring, anything muscular, it just allows people to have those rest days so they can come in with no doubts. Or if like people are touch and go going into a game on like towards the end of a season, and like that gives that seed of doubt going into sort of big games that you need to win. If players can get over the line with those extra days, 100%, a manager would absolutely bite your hand off for that kind of break at that point, to allow your players to get refresh, and to kind of give those extra days for people that have niggles or just need a rest mentally. I think because there's both parts to it. I think the mental side of it at this point of the season, you're exhausted, right? You've got one bikini's already in the suitcase. You're already like one hand's on the boarding card. You're sort of you're already thinking about it, or like regardless of what anyone says, like you are.
How many bikinis do you take on holiday?
Depends how long I'm going for.
Yeah, maybe 2.
I always take too many, but then always repeat the favourite a couple of times. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, same.
Like you always take too many, but there's always like 2 or 3 you never wear.
No.
You try it on, you think,
I mean, that's great bikini chat. And can I applaud you, Jen, because you're the only one that actually gave a straight answer to it as to who's winning. Izzy, one name?
I don't know. My job is to be impartial and to support, good play in the Super League. Like, I'm not here to pick teams.
Did you have to be impartial?
Well, no. I can say who I think will win it.
Go on.
I think Chelsea will win it.
Right.
Okay. That's all I wanted. Rachel?
Well, we've got 2 Chelsea, so I think Manchester City will win it.
Yeah, Rachel.
I'm not really bothered. I'm not really bothered who wins it, to be honest. Enjoy it.
I've got something you're going to be bothered about coming up next. This is 3 Players and a Podcast. Jen, Beattie, Rachel, Yankey, and Izzy Christiansen here. Right, we've had semi-predictions as to what's going to happen come the end of the season, but we do have chance to say goodbye. Final goodbye is our final topic for Hayes, for Kirby, for Ward, for Horton, and now Viv Miedema and Boreham Wood, by the way. Arsenal are going to go and play their league games and Champions League games at the Emirates. But Viv leaving Arsenal. On your birthday, Jen Beattie.
No.
Rachel Yankey, first off, should Viv be leaving?
That's a hard question to answer when I don't know Viv personally, and I don't know what it's been like at the club, and what she sees in the future for her football and everything like that. So for a supporter, I don't want to see her go. I don't want to see her leave the club. How old is she? She's like
27.
26, 27?
27.
She's in her prime.
Okay, exactly. I was just about to say, so I remember years ago, they were sort of talking at Fulham that the prime age of a female footballer was like 28. So
I heard it's 33.
Okay, Jen. You keep pulling that one. I remember when I was playing, I heard it 33 as well. Yeah, so 27, coming into her prime, knowing what she's done in this league for that club, knowing, if you get her back, she's come back from an injury and scoring that goal. Was it against Liverpool? It was a worldly little strike.
Yeah.
then I know she got another little niggle. But if you got her back fit, there's absolutely no way I'd want to see her leave the club. But like I say, there's a lot of things that happen in football, and personally, I don't know where she's at. I've never done an ACL, so I don't know what that does mentally. Do you want a new challenge? Do you want to see things? Maybe you see things differently when you've had like pretty much a season out. So I wish her the best of luck, but as an Arsenal fan, yeah, gutted. And if she goes to a rival, that's
why? What have you heard, Yanks?
No, but I read something and they was like saying that rival, she was tapped up for a rival or whatever. Oh, okay. So I believed it because I was like, oh my god, if she goes, she has to leave the country. No, that sounds really bad. But like,
she's got to pack a bikini and get gone.
Yeah, take your bikini and go and
one
play
bikini
somewhere else. One bikini, you're allowed, but not in the WSL. Because surely, I mean, I would love to see her continue to play in the WSL, but as an Arsenal fan, like if she's playing up against you, why make your life harder? So yeah, but other than that, no, I haven't heard anything. I'm the last to know everything, Izzy, so I believe the rumours.
Whatever happens, I think we got to celebrate Viv, haven't we? It's just how brilliant she's been for Arsenal.
Yeah, she's quality. Like, she's a joke of a footballer, but she's quite unique in the way that she plays, which is what makes me think like she is moving on from Arsenal. You know, whether that's a personal decision, whether that's a club decision, I don't know. But to be honest with you, I'm probably sitting in the very small minority with zero attachments to Arsenal Football Club other than respect for what they're doing. That I think it's the right thing for Viv to leave that environment because I don't think she fits that style of play. And I mean, you could then argue, well, like you've got a player who's world class, like make them fit your style of play. But I just think the way that Arsenal have played under Jonas Eidevall doesn't particularly suit Viv Miedema. And if she does go to a rival within the WSL, of course, I think Arsenal might regret that. However, when you're on your own club mission and ethos and progressing a style of play, it's not about like you don't think about things like that, like selling to well, she's not being sold, she's out of contract, but it's not about, oh, a rival's going to take one of our best players and therefore it's going to affect us. It's not really about that. It's a bit deeper than that. But I understand why the fans would be, disappointed with that, because of the caliber of player she is, and obviously she's been at Arsenal for 7 years, is that right? And she's the WSL's top goal scorer. She, the stats don't lie. But I think for the next phase of Viv's career, I think the best thing to do is move away into a style of play that might be more appropriate for her skill set, which to me, looking as a deep thinker, football analyst, whatever my job role is, I don't think Arsenal's the right style of play for us, to be really honest.
I think we've already established that you're the thermometer holder in the centre of the pitch.
I was going to say, Izzy, you see when you say the fans will be disappointed, do you mean disappointed with the club or her personally, or
the club?
Probably. I mean, again, I don't know the intricacies within the conversations, but the fans who have admired and loved watching Miedema play, I'm sure there'll be a lot of fans, Arsenal fans, that go to Boreham Wood or the Emirates to watch Vivianne Miedema play, because she is one of the world's best. And she's somebody who would have helped them grow the fan base, and she's done terrific things. Jen played with her, so Jen will be able to give a bit more detail on her, just from a training perspective. But disappointed, I think, that she's leaving the football club. But I'm sure if the club, I don't know if it was a player decision or a club decision, so I can't really answer that, to be honest with you. But there's no argument that she's a quality player. It's just she needs to find the right system to play in to keep her skill set up here, because you see a lot with players of high quality, and touch wood, a long-term injury, which unfortunately is part of the game. Sometimes it takes them a long time to get back up to that level of where your reputation is. And that's a hard thing mentally to deal with as a footballer, is everybody thinks I'm this player, but I feel like this at the moment. And a change of environment for Viv at this point in time is probably the right thing.
Yeah. No, I think wherever she goes, whether it's whatever team it is, if she plays against Arsenal, I would hope that supporters would give her a massive support when she was playing, as in respect what she's done for the club and how she's been. Again, I don't know the ins and outs on whose decision it is and what have you.
Yeah.
But as a footballer, you know, it's a short career. You got to do what makes you happy and what you feels right for you. So yeah, no, it is interesting. But yeah, no, I get your point on sort of style of play and you know, her possibly not fitting that.
Go on then, Jen. Put some gold dust on Viv Miedema. What's she like as a teammate?
I mean, humbling on a daily basis. I think that was Leah's sort of tagline when she posted on social media, but it's accurate. Like I was messaging her obviously when it was announced, because we've known for a while. Obviously, you do when you're part of that team, but you see her do things on a match day when she does it every day in training. There's things that she can do as a striker, the way that she manipulates the ball, sends you the wrong way every single time. You know, she just does things that few players can do, and she absolutely is world class. The records kind of speak for themselves. But it's not even just that. It's not even just her skill set or what she can do. It's also like the way she sees football, like her tactical awareness is kind of also second to none. You know, she was always one to kind of challenge a manager in a good way, speak out in meetings, say things that maybe other players didn't see, and kind of really raise her opinion in that sense. And I think that was kind of always, because she is interested, she does do her coaching on the side, so she kind of sees football in a lot more depth than kind of maybe the average player would, because we just kind of turned up training and told what we're to do. So that for me, those two elements are kind of probably what make her just an unbelievable player. Like genuinely one of the best players I've ever played with in my entire career, on like in training and games. She'll pop up in moments and do things, or you know, kind of sometimes the way I speak about Keira Walsh, you know, players that can kind of vision things but then have the ability to actually execute it as well, and you haven't even seen it. That's kind of a Viv for me. But yeah, I think the reaction online and kind of the way she's seen in the world of football, because she's had such a hard year, ACL, everything personally as well. You know, Arsenal hasn't seen the best of her because she's been out with an ACL in a year. So I think the reaction online kind of summed it up and kind of gave her the kind of recognition that she deserves. And we've all said she is just hitting her prime. So there's absolutely no doubt that she'll get back to her best, because she was showing signs of that already 100% in training. And that goal against Liverpool, for that to be her first goal coming back, you know, most players dream of scoring those goals, let alone off the back of an ACL as your first one. So yeah, it's absolutely gutting. I think the fans' reaction was spot on. You never want to see a player of that caliber leave a top club on a free. I think was the most disappointing bit, you know, from as a business perspective going into next season. So yeah, I think it's always hard. It always kind of speaks volumes, and you never want to look into it too much, because you never know the details and the ins and outs of why a club or a player make a certain decision. But if you're a fan, you never want to see a Miedema leaving your club. It's a huge loss.
Mm-hmm. The challenge for Arsenal is replace her.
Yeah.
You know, as in not like for like, as in terms of the style of player, but replace her with a name that's going to be of that ilk.
But this is the thing, I don't think...
Because Arsenal, I think, massive pressure on Arsenal next season.
But who?
Exactly, yeah.
Well,
no, like,
yeah.
Miedema at her best is irreplaceable in that 10 role, number 9, whatever you want to call it. Like, Miedema at her best, in her prime, I'm going to go as far as saying I don't think she is replaceable of the caliber of player she is.
Yeah.
For what she can offer a team. Because nowadays you can't just have if Arsenal look at the whole season, you have to have a Blackstenius, you have to have a Russo, you have to have a Mead, you have to have different elements to your game. You have to be able to play every style of play. You can't just have one style of play and win everything, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a bit of everything. For what Miedema offers against a low block, you need her.
It's the future of women's football. If you can't produce players like that, buy them. But I would say the challenge first is produce them. And I'm not saying Arsenal have the next Vivianne Miedema in their academy, but the future of the game is okay, if a Miedema or a Kim Little leaves, we have an academy product that's come through the system, that's learned how to play the way that we play as a football club. And I personally think that's the future. We're currently in a gap of a market where the transfer window's booming in women's football and the prices are going up massively for players and their fees, etc. But it's like, okay, well, how do you put a lid on that and go, hang on a minute, producing players to replace, who's the next Steph Horton at Manchester City?
Do you know what? A prime example of that has been when Rafa left Arsenal and then you had Wubben Moyes step in.
Perfect.
Like, that was literally the perfect, and the way Wubben Moyes come on this season, like, player of the season chats, that is the perfect, like, come out of the academy, Arsenal literally produced her as a player. It was the perfect transition. So you are right, Is what's the strategic plan for players when you're starting to build a squad and build a team over long term? That is the hardest thing to do in football now.
That's a whole new topic though, because you're gonna have to go all into structure of how your football club is and the finance and I don't know about academies and what have you, but you're going to make sure you've got the best coaches in there that you can produce that. Therefore, you need the finance to be able to pay those coaches to be able to make sure when someone, I don't know whether it's from the women's game or the men's game, comes in with a better offer, you can fight for it like they're doing with the players. I don't know, this might happen, but I don't think it does. You need to be offering these top jobs and well-paid jobs to coaching staff and to people that will build your younger players, and all the way down to, I don't know, the 8s, 10s, 12s. That level. Is women's football in the place to have that finance yet and that structure? I hope so, but I don't know the answer.
No, I was going to say, it's not just women's football. I think is this podcast in the place to do that? But it is another topic, and we've just done this again. We've just done this, which is tear up the running order because we didn't get to say goodbye to anyone else. But I'm okay with that because you've only got yourselves to blame, because that means we're going to have to slot in another podcast. So we'll have one, hopefully an emergency one after the final day of the season, and then we'll fit another one in as well. So
it'll be easy to arrange, so it'll be fine.
Yeah. I'll put you head of arranging as always.
6 a.m, Jem.
Yeah.
Seems like the norm now for me. Good.
It's her new midnight, which this has felt like, actually, this conversation. Sitting back, I've plumped up a pillow, had my feet up. It's felt like midnight in my student digs, listening to you talk football, and it's been perfect. I hate goodbyes, so I'll just hang up.
Wow.
Well played, Caroline.
Was that brutal?